Welcome back, everyone, for another deep dive. This time, we're gonna, take a look at the origins of online payments, like how it transformed from just a small startup to, this massive global player.
Yeah, and what makes this deep dive even more interesting, I think, is that we've got these two uh, YouTube video transcripts, right? One's totally like, yay,
Mhm.
PayPal, and the other one's a lot more critical.
Yeah, it's true. So we're gonna unpack how this small group of people in their 20s revolutionized online payments and spawned this so-called PayPal mafia. The people who started companies like Tesla and SpaceX, YouTube, LinkedIn, and the whole gang. But we're also going to look at, some of the controversies, the frozen accounts, those crazy high fees, all that stuff.
Yeah, get ready for a crazy ride through the turbulent history of PayPal. I mean, this company changed the world of tech and finance, forever.
Totally. And get this, Confinity, which turned into PayPal, and Elon Musk's X.com were literally office neighbors, like right next to each other. Can you imagine the tension, all those awkward water cooler conversations?
Yeah, it's wild to think, two future giants of online payments, just a wall apart. Those early days were like a whirlwind of pivots and near misses. They both started with these grand visions that didn't really work out.
Oh, totally. Confinity, they wanted to be money between Palm Pilots. I mean, talk about being ahead of their time, but nobody actually wanted to do that. And then X.com, they were all about this all-in-one digital bank thing, but that didn't exactly fly with the regulators.
It's interesting though, right? Because both of them, they sort of stumbled upon email payments by accident. Like, wasn't the plan, but users loved it. Suddenly, you could send money with just an email address.
Yeah.
Shows you sometimes the best ideas come from the most unexpected places.
It was a total game changer. They tapped into this, growing need for seamless online transactions, something the banks weren't really doing.
Exactly. And that's where eBay comes in. Neither company really focused on them, at first,
Hmm.
but then it became like this battleground for their services.
Oh man, it was brutal. Free money giveaways, all these underhanded tactics, even like a cape with diex.com on it.
Yeah.
Seriously.
Yeah, that eBay rivalry really pushed both of them. It forced them to innovate, adapt, and develop this, killer instinct that became part of their DNA.
It's no wonder so many of those early PayPal people went on to do, such big things. That crazy competition really forged this certain mindset, this willingness to take risks and just fight for every little bit of market share.
For sure. It's like they were, um, trained to survive in the Wild West of early e-commerce. And speaking of survival, we got to talk about the merger, the one that almost didn't happen. They were running out of cash, so they decided to, join forces.
You'd think that'd be the end of the drama, right? Nope. It gets even crazier because the merger almost fell apart because of all these ego clashes and power struggles.
Elon Musk and Bill Harris, the CEO of X.com, they clashed all the time. Musk, he was all about this future with digital transactions everywhere, while Harris was more like into the traditional banking approach.
You also had Peter Thiel and Max Levchin, the PayPal founders, trying to figure out what to do in all this chaos. Imagine those board meetings.
It's crazy reading about it,
Yeah.
all those personality clashes and competing visions. It almost tore the company apart. It's like the classic example of what happens when, big personalities collide.
But they somehow managed to, make the merger happen. But then guess what? Rampant fraud. Turns out their early success, well, it had a dark side. Their security was way too lax.
It was a trade-off, I guess. They made it super easy to use, which attracted millions of users, but it also made them a huge target for all the hackers and scammers out there.
It was like the Wild West of, online payments. There are these crazy stories about Max Levchin. He was PayPal's self-proclaimed digital sheriff, battling this infamous hacker Igor. Crazy stuff.
Yeah, Levchin's role in fighting fraud is like crucial to understanding PayPal's evolution. He basically invented a lot of the anti-fraud measures we, take for granted today.
You mean like those kept TCHA codes, the ones we all hate? But yeah, those security measures, well, they often came at a cost for users. Legitimate transactions got flagged, accounts got frozen, and people were, getting frustrated.
It raises this, big question, how much security is enough, right? How do you balance that with user experience? PayPal's approach, it worked, in fighting fraud, but it also set the stage for some of the user complaints that still exist today.
Oh, and then there was the whole FU thing. Remember how they promised to be free? Well, they kind of went back on that promise and forced users into paid plans.
Yeah, that was a big turning point. I get it. A growing company needs to, make money. But changing the rules after promising a free service, that didn't sit well with a lot of people.
It definitely didn't. And I think for a lot of people, it signaled a shift.
Yeah.
They were no longer this scrappy little company fighting for the little guy. They were becoming this corporate giant focused on profits, maybe even at the expense of their, users.
It's an important shift in the story. That move, along with all the complaints about, frozen accounts and bad customer service, it started to paint a different picture of who PayPal was.
So with all this drama, all this internal and external pressure, they somehow managed to go public in 2002. What a ride.
But
Wait, there's one more twist coming.
and it's a twist that, brings us full circle. Remember that brutal rivalry with eBay? Well, just a few months after going public, they were acquired by, eBay.
Wow, it's almost like poetic, right?
Yeah.
After all that fighting,
Right.
they end up, under the same roof.
I mean, it was a smart move for eBay. Right. They finally got control of, the payment system that had been causing so many headaches.
Yeah.
And for PayPal, it meant access to this massive user base.
It did, but the acquisition, it also kind of signaled the departure of, the original PayPal crew. Peter Thiel, Max Lifchin, a lot of the other key players, they all decided to, move on.
Yeah, it's like they climbed this mountain, and they were ready for the next challenge.
Yeah.
That shared experience of building something from scratch, going up against the giants, it gave them a certain set of skills and a hunger for more.
And they definitely went on to do some pretty amazing things.
They did.
This is where the whole, legendary PayPal mafia thing comes in. Elon Musk with Tesla and SpaceX, Reid Hoffman with LinkedIn, the YouTube founders. I mean, the list is incredible.
Yeah, it's amazing, right? What's really striking is how their time at PayPal, shaped how they approach business.
Right.
They weren't afraid to, take big risks.
Right.
They were super adaptable, and they had this knack for seeing opportunities that other people just missed.
Yeah, it's like they went through this, intense training program in the PayPal environment, and they came out with this unique skill set and a network that became this powerhouse in Silicon Valley.
Absolutely, and that network, it's a huge part of the story, right? The PayPal mafia. They didn't just build successful companies.
Right.
They actively supported and invested in each other's ventures. They created this whole ecosystem of innovation.
It's true, but that concentration of power, it's also raised some concerns, right?
It has.
Some people argue that the PayPal mafia's influence in the Silicon Valley, it's been a little, too much, maybe even shaping the tech world in ways that haven't benefited everyone.
Yeah, it's an interesting point for sure. When you have a small group with so much wealth and influence, it's worth asking, what are the downsides? Are they stifling competition, creating a culture that's too closed off?
Yeah.
Those are important questions.
They are. Meanwhile, PayPal itself, well, it just kept growing, right?
It did.
Becoming the, giant we know today, hundreds of millions of users, billions of dollars in transactions. But was there a cost to all this growth?
Well, that's where our more critical YouTube source comes in, right?
Yeah.
It kind of shines a light on the potential downsides of PayPal's evolution.
Okay.
Remember all those early complaints about, frozen accounts and bad customer service?
Yeah.
Well, it seems like those problems, they didn't go away.
Oh, really?
Yeah, in fact, it seems like maybe they even got worse. The critical source is full of stories about frozen accounts, crazy fees, and a customer service department that, seems like it's designed to make you pull your hair out.
Oh, man.
It's a theme you see a lot in online reviews. PayPal has this reputation for being really quick to freeze accounts,
Right.
slow to resolve disputes,
Yeah.
and just generally not treating their users with much, respect.
And then there was that whole misinformation fine fiasco. Remember that? PayPal tried to change their terms of service so they could fine users $2,500 for spreading misinformation.
Yeah, that was a pretty crazy move, even for a company with, a history of controversial policies. It felt like they were trying to control what people could say, punish them for, expressing views that PayPal didn't agree with.
Right.
And even though they eventually, backed down from that policy, it made a lot of users wonder, can we really trust PayPal? Do they have our best interests in mind?
Yeah.
Do they even care about our right to free speech.
Exactly. It raises this bigger question about, the power of these huge tech companies and their ability to, like, influence and control our lives.
It does.
It seems like, as PayPal got bigger, maybe they lost sight of those user-centric principles that made them successful in the first place.
Yeah. Yeah, it's worth pointing out, though, that they have introduced some positive features over the years, like buyer and seller protection policies.
Right.
And they're still innovating in areas like, mobile payments and international money transfers.
That's true. They've definitely made some, positive contributions. But their story is complicated,
It is.
full of successes and failures, and it
Mhm.
makes you think about the balance between, innovation,
Yeah.
profit, and corporate responsibility.
It really does. The PayPal story, it's not just about, financial tech. It's a reflection of, like, the whole tech landscape. It's a reminder that progress, well, it's not always straightforward. Even the most, disruptive innovations can have unintended consequences.
Totally.
Yeah.
And it encourages us to, think critically about the companies we support and the values they represent. Do their values align with ours? Are they using their power responsibly?
Yeah, those are questions we should all be asking ourselves, especially in this, ever-changing world of technology.
Exactly. So the PayPal journey, it offers these really valuable insights into, the entrepreneurial spirit, the power of networks, and the ethical challenges of building a tech giant. It's a story that's still being written,
Yeah.
and it's going to continue to shape the future of finance and technology for a long time.
You've summed it up perfectly.
Okay.
Now, I have a final thought for you to, chew on. We've seen how PayPal's transformation from, this little startup to a global giant has been marked by both successes and controversies. Knowing what you now know about their journey, do you think their early, almost chaotic approach was ultimately, good or bad for online commerce and consumer trust?
It's a great question. Did their willingness to, like, push the limits and break things actually pave the way for a more innovative and accessible financial system? Or did it, damage trust and set the stage for those questionable practices that have kind of hurt their reputation?
Yeah, it's a tough question. There's no easy answer. And it really speaks to the bigger conversation we need to have about, you know, the role of technology in our lives and the balance between innovation and responsibility.
Yeah. Well, that about wraps up our deep dive into the world of PayPal. We hope you found it, insightful, thought-provoking, maybe even inspiring.
It's been a fun one.
Yeah.
Remember, the story of technology, well, it's still being written. We all have a role to play in shaping the future. Until next time, keep questioning, keep exploring, and keep pushing for a better digital world.
It really makes you think, huh, about, like the compromises we make in the name of progress and the responsibility that comes with like having so much influence, especially in a world that's constantly being reshaped by, technology.
Yeah, for sure. It reminds us that, like, every click we make, every transaction, every time we use our phones, it all feeds into these massive systems, and we actually have a role to play in shaping them.
That's true. We're not just, passive consumers. We have a voice, and we can use it to demand, more transparency, more accountability from the companies that basically like control our digital lives.
Absolutely. And what's so interesting about the PayPal story is, like, how it mirrors those bigger trends we see in the tech industry, this constant drive for growth, disrupting those established industries, and all the ethical questions that pop up when innovation moves faster than regulation.
Yeah, they were definitely pioneers, but they also messed up, along the way. And it's up to us to learn from their mistakes and demand better from the companies that have so much power in our digital world.
Totally. So as we wrap up our deep dive into PayPal, I want you to think about your own relationship with these, tech giants. How do they affect your life? Are they actually meeting your needs? And most importantly, are they upholding the values that you believe in?
Those are really important questions to ask yourself because the choices we make as consumers, as, citizens, they'll determine the future of technology.
Exactly. We can just sit back and watch. Or we can demand better. We can push for a digital world that's, more fair, more sustainable, and more accountable to the people it's supposed to serve.
Well said. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the wild world of PayPal. We hope you found it, interesting, thought-provoking, and maybe even a little inspiring.
Yeah, it's been great exploring this with you.
It has.
And remember, the story of technology, it's still unfolding, and we all have a part to play in writing the next chapter. So, until next time, keep questioning, keep exploring, and keep pushing for a better digital world.